What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Murphy, and this is You Can Solo That? You Can Solo That is a series where I go through all the games on our shelf that can be soloed and solo them for you and review them and talk about whether or not I like them. This is really only the like legit review thing we do on our channel is this. But I do enjoy solo gaming, and this series has made me enjoy solo gaming even more, and I was very, very excited to find out that the game Wingspan here had a solo variant. I should have probably known that, considering Stonemaier Games, who makes this game, usually makes solo variants for their games, and it uses what is called the Automa system, or the Automa factory. I believe it's a separate company or a separate people that do the Automa versions of the game. And the Automa version is just the solo version, but it usually uses some kind of Automa deck, some kind of deck of cards that simulates the AI character's actions. But nonetheless, the Automa system has its own rulebook. This one is only a few pages because the Automa is pretty easy for the game. And one thing I will say about the game that I really, really like is that it comes in different difficulties. There are 3 different difficulties for the game. It does have a win-lose condition. Yes. I love that. And there's like easy, normal, and hard for the difficulties. There's Eaglet, which is easy. There's Eagle, which is like medium or normal. And then Eagle-Eyed Eagle, which is hard. Wait. Eagle-Eyed Eagle. Eagle-Eyed Eagle. But Eagle-Eyed Eagle, Eagle-Eyed Eagle, Eagle-Eyed Eagle. But like, if it's an eagle, but like, an eagle is already eagle-eyed. So, it's like a super eagle? I don't get it. But regardless of how confusing that is, let's get the game down to the table and let's see how it solos. I will preface this by saying, like I usually do in my videos, I am just teaching what is different in the solo game. I'm not teaching the whole game as a whole. There are plenty of other rules videos out there for that. I'm just teaching of how the solo plays and what's different in the solo game. So nonetheless, let's get it down to the table. All right, so here's the setup for Wingspan. So Wingspan sets up for you at least pretty much in the exact same way. You still get a player board, you're gonna get 5 birds, 1 of each food type, you're gonna get 2 goals, 1 of which you'll choose, and then you get cubes in whatever player color you want. You are still gonna use this end of round goal tracker right here, and you're gonna randomly put out 4 of these tiles. Now you can use the green more competitive side, or you can use the blue friendlier side. Either one works. For the Automa game, personally, I think it's better to have the green competitive side up there, but you can use either. It doesn't really matter. Now, the Automa does set up a little bit differently, and their stuff is over here, so let's go take a little bit of a closer look. Now, the Automa deck is going to have its own deck right here, which mostly has these cogs on the back of it, and then a few other cards. You are also going to give the Automa 1 random player color of your choice. In this case, I just chose blue because the blue is pretty. Now the Automa will also get a goals card. Now if the goals card is one like this where it depends on them having more or less than you, they can't use that kind of card. They can only use a card like this where it's just a certain amount, like birds with colors in their name. A quick easy way to tell is if it has a percentage here on the bottom, like this one's 34% of cards, it can be used with the Automa. If it doesn't have a percentage, get it out of there. The Automa also has these 2 cards. These are just reminders of what all the different actions do that the Automa takes, so you can kind of just keep these near you. The Automa also has these end of round goal cards. This will be for scoring the end of round goals. They have 1 for round 1, 1 for round 2, 1 for round 3, and then 1 for round 4. So you're going to have it on round 1, and then you're going to put it right next to the end of round goal card. There's also this action tracker card, which tracks which actions will be taken in which round. So there's round 1, there's round 2, there's round 3, and then there's round 4. So make sure it is on the round 1 side. And then the Automa actually has their Automa deck with all the different actions the Automa can take. These look like this, where they'll have round 1, 2, 3, and 4. One thing you need to do with this is you need to find the Automuban card. You need to decide right now if you want to play with this. This is a very difficult card. It makes the game much, much more challenging. So this is only if you want a very challenging game. If you don't want that, make sure to get it out of there. And then you're going to take the rest of these and shuffle them up. And then you're going to put them right next to the round action tracker card. All right, so now that everything is set up, let's go ahead and get into the gameplay. All right, so the gameplay for you is exactly the same. There's nothing really different. The only thing is you are always considered to be the first player, so you will always go first. The only real difference comes with some of your brown cards. So for this one right here, it says all players gain 1 grain from the supply. The Automa never ever collects any food, so the Automa wouldn't get one, but you would still get one. The only other difference is a card like this. This one says when activated, players with the fewest forest birds gain 1 die from the bird feeder. In the situations like these where you're supposed to be comparing your bird habitats to other players, the Automa is always considered to have lost that. So you will always win these kinds of powers. So they're kind of good to get in the game because the Automa always loses no matter what because they don't actually have a play area. All right, so let's get into the Automa turn. The Automa is going to take their turn by flipping one of the cards, and then you're going to align it to whatever round we're in. So in this situation, we're in round 1, so it will do this action. But then next round, in round 2, if we draw the same card, the Automa will be doing this action. If it was round 3, they would be doing that action. If it was round 4, they would be doing this action, which is a really clever way of keeping track. You don't actually have to use this if you don't want to, but to me, it's very easy to use, and it does always keep you on track of what round you're supposed to be activating. And then once you activate this card, you then go back to your turn and then come back to the Automa, and you're gonna draw the next card and then do that action and then the next card and do that action and so on and so forth until the end of the round. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get into what all these different actions do. So the first action right here is the draw a card action. In this situation, the Automa is going to draw a face down card and just put it face down in the Automa's play area over to the side, and then you're gonna discard all 3 cards from the tray and then refill it anew. Now these face down cards that the Automa has is going to give it points at the end of the game. Depending on the difficulty of the game you want, these cards will be worth a certain amount of points. So if you want an easy game, each one of these cards at the end of the game is going to be worth 3 points. If you want a normal difficulty game, they're each worth 4. If you want a really hard game, each of these is worth 5. So throughout the game, the Automa will just be accumulating face down cards. The actual points on the cards themselves won't matter. It's just a base point value for every single one they have face down at the end of the game. The next action we have is the draw a bird action. Now for this is what you use the goal for. Now remember, our goal for the Automa was birds with colors in their names. Automa does not actually score their goal card at the end of the game. Their goal card is just used for this pick a bird action right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the tray and all the birds that are on the tray, and then the Automa is gonna take all the birds that match its goal. So here we have a black-necked stilt, a spotted townie, and then a red-winged blackbird. Black and red are in the title, and so that's going to take both of these. And then the Automa is going to keep the one with the higher point count. The higher point count being here with 4, this one's only worth 2. So the Automa is going to keep the black-necked stilt, and then the red-winged blackbird here is just going to get discarded. And then that bird is going to go face up in the Automa's play area next to the cards that they have drawn that are face down. And then these cards will be worth their points at the end of the game. Whereas these are just a base score of 3, 4, or 5. These ones you actually score the points on the card. So in a situation like this where none of the birds match the goal card, the Automa is just going to get a face down card instead. The next action is the lay eggs card. Depending on how many eggs are here, the Automa is just going to get that many eggs. So in round 1, it might be 1, but if it's something like round 4, it may be something like 3. The Automa is just going to get that many eggs and put them in their play area, and just like you, the eggs are worth 1 point at the end of the game. All right, so the next action is the gain a food action, or essentially gain a dice action, because the Automa doesn't actually ever gather any food. First thing with this action is if the dice that are left in the tray both have the same symbol, the Automa is going to take all 5 die and then re-roll all of them again. Then based on this key right here, the Automa is going to take all the dice with that symbol. So in this situation, the Automa will just take this mice die right here. But it takes all the dice with that symbol. So if the dice was this worm invertebrate dice, it would take all of them. Now let's say there are no mice in there. Well, then the Automa would take the fish dice. Say if there's no fish dice in there, then it would take the berries, then it would take the wheat/invertebrate, then the invertebrate, then the wheat. Now this is not always this way, sometimes it's different. This one right here, it'll take the wheat/invertebrate first, then the invertebrate, then wheat, then mice, then fish, then berries. So you just take all the dice matching that symbol in the key out of the dice tray, but again, they don't gain any food because the Automa never gains any food. It's just taking the dice away from you. You may have noticed that certain cards have this blue cube over here on the side. Well, that's our next action. So if the action card has one of these blue cubes, you're gonna take a cube and you're gonna place it on the end round goal for this round, which in this case is round 1. I'll explain why the Automa does this once we get to the end of round explanation. There also may be an action where it's a blue cube with an X through it. In that situation, what you're going to do is you're going to take one of the cubes that's on the end of round goal scoring and you're going to take it off. If there's nothing there, you would just ignore that action. The last thing on the card is activate all pink powers. Now these are your pink powers. Pink powers are on birds and they usually activate between turns, so between your turn and your opponent's turns. Now the Automa doesn't really take turns, so you might think that these pink powers are worthless in the Automa game. But that's not true, because once the Automa plays a card that has activate all pink powers, then all of the pink powers in your habitat will activate. So it'll only activate during those parts, not any other time. All right, so that is all the actions that the Automa can take. And so you're gonna go back and forth, you take a turn, the Automa takes a turn, back and forth until you are all done with the round. And then we go on to the end of round goal scoring. All right, so now we're on to end of round scoring. So this takes place for you exactly how it does in the normal one. So this round's goal is eggs in water habitats. Now the Automa works different. The Automa works with these cards right here. Now we're on round 1, so we have the round 1 card. So for the end round goals, the Automa gets a base score for every different kind of goal in the game. So whatever goal is active for this round, you look on here and find that kind of goal. In this case, it's eggs in wetlands is this goal. And then the Automa is going to get a base score. So their base score in round 1 here is 1. Then added on to that base score is the amount of cubes that are there that you've been putting there throughout the round. So in this case, the base is 1 and it has 2 cubes on here. So that means for this goal, the Automa's score is 3. Now let's say I got 4. Okay, great. I'm going to get first place like you do in a multiplayer game, and then the Automa is going to get second place. And then these will be points that the Automa counts at the end of the game. So that is how end of round goal scoring happens. Now this one's just for round 1, so you can see it's 0, 1, 2, -1. Now in round 2, all of them increase to 1, 3, 5, and 0. In round 3, they get even more, and then in round 4, they're worth the most. So round to round, the Automa gets stronger and stronger in end of round goal scoring, but then again, you should also be stronger in the same way. So once the end of round goal scoring is done, all maintenance takes place per normal. You're gonna discard all the cards from the tray and get out 3 new ones. But then you're also going to make sure to flip around the Automa's card. So now it says round 2 or round 3 or round 4, depending on what round you're in. Since it's the end of round 1, we're going to remove this card that says remove after round 1. That goes out of the game. There's also one for round 2 and for round 3. So you would remove those at the end of those rounds. Then you just take the Automa deck with that card removed, give it a shuffle back up, place it right next to the round action card, and then you go again. And you do that for 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, and at the end of the 4th round, we are going to do end game scoring, and let's go over that now. So now we're on to end game scoring. Now you are going to score your game exactly the same, just do it how you normally do. And now the Automa though is going to score it differently. One, they're going to accumulate the points that they got for their end of round scoring goals, just like you do. Then they're going to get the points on their face up bird cards. Then depending on the difficulty you chose, they're going to get either 3, 4, or 5 points for every face down bird card. And then they're going to get 1 point for every egg they collected. They tend to collect a lot of eggs. And then you tally all that up, and then that is the Automa's score, and that goes against your score, and you have to see if you won or you lost. Now these 2 food are here because in the normal game, the tiebreaker is whoever has the most unused food left over. So for a tiebreaker, the Automa is considered to have 2 food. So if you want to make sure you're going to win the tiebreaker, try to make sure you have 3 food. And that is it. That is how you solo Wingspan. So that was, bam, Wingspan. You can solo that? You sure can. And here's the thing, it's freaking great. It's just good. The Automa system, yet again, the Automa factory crushes it per usual. They're just good at what they do. It's simple, it's clean, it's easy, especially in this game, because this game is not very difficult to begin with, and the Automa system just is easy. Easy, simple, and it's good, it's good, it's good. And it has a win-lose condition, which is also great, and here's the thing, it's hard. I love hard solo games. I love them. I love them, love them, love them. And I love the fact that it has 3 different difficulties, even if one is very confusing. I love the fact that it has that, because I love hard solo games, but I also enjoy games where you can choose how hard you want to make the game. So as I said, the game is hard. I've played it a couple times. I've played it a couple times on normal and just gotten crushed every single time. And I played it on easy and I won, but I mean, barely. It was by like 1 or 2 points. It was very, very close. It's a game that has a tough balance just to begin with in terms of putting birds in the right habitat for them, and like, do you need more in the woods or more in the wetlands and stuff, and all this different kind of stuff. And it's a tough balance to do, and when you're going against a really tough opponent like the Automa, it's just hard. It's just difficult, and I'm not good at that balance, and I'm not good at this game in general. But nonetheless, I just really like it. It's clean and it's easy. And it's just interesting the way the Automa plays differently because of the fact that like they're just gonna get a grip of eggs because so many of their cards give them eggs, and it says so in the rule book as well, but it's just like they have so many eggs because they don't collect food. They don't cache any food. They don't tuck any cards behind other cards. All the different ways that you get points, they don't collect bonus cards. All the different ways that you get points, they don't get. So they have to make up for it with just sheer amount of birds and eggs, and they do very, very well. And so I'm very excited to explore this further. I'm very excited to get better at the game in general, and then starting to be competitive at normal, and then maybe even try Eagle-Eyed Eagle, the very hard difficulty, and maybe even throw in the Autobahn Society. I'm very excited with how much strategy is in this game, even with the Automa, how the game for you doesn't really change much. It's pretty much exactly the same for you. It's just hard. But overall, the game was great. If you like solo games, consider picking it up. It's really good. It plays 1 to 5. And it's just lovely. It's such a lovely game with a cool theme. And just, I love it, love it, love it. And yeah, that is going to be it. Please make sure to like and share this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed to us already. If there's any games that you know of that have solo variants that we haven't done and you can solo that for, please let us know down in the comments so I can make one, because I like to choose whatever you all want me to choose. A little spoiler, the next You Can Solo That will be A Feast for Odin, which was chosen by our patrons. A lot of times we put up polls on our Patreon so that you get to choose what games You Can Solo That, what games we can board game highlight. So if you're feeling generous, you got a couple extra bucks, consider supporting our Patreon because you'll get to have a say in what we put on our channel. But enough about the plug-in and liking and sharing and subscribing. This game was great. Please let me know down in the comments if you like it, if you've played it, if you're interested in it. It's just lovely. That game is, Wingspan. It is such a gloriously wonderful, great little game. And this is, You Can Solo That? Yeah, You Can Solo That. Thanks for being here with me.